The Pink Floyd discography is one that's rich in texture and variation. From the early days of albums such as the Piper at the Gates of Dawn, Saucerful of Secrets, the soundtrack to the movie More, and Ummagumma, to more modern day efforts from the 1970s with Atom Heart Mother, Metal, Obscured by Clouds, to the ones that we all recognize, know, and love, Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, The Wall, and The Final Cut. And then finally, the two albums that were absent of Roger Waters, A Momentary Lapse of Reason, and The Division Bell. But Pink Floyd's iconic status, though best remembered for albums such as Dark Side of the Moon, Animals, Wish You Were Here, and The Wall, all made during their booming 70s period, started from humble beginnings in the late 1960s, with a member that was only present for one album and sessions of a second. A man who was only able to place his legacy in very little works in the Pink Floyd discography, but will remain a quintessential piece to the Pink Floyd puzzle, even far after his departure. Pink Floyd's humble beginnings start way before this particular poster right here could even be seen or understood, conjured, or even spawned. This is the Pink Floyd discography, and we're going to start from the beginning with the very first album, with the very first release, A Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Pink Floyd's beginnings and roots can be traced all the way back to 1967. Their first album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, a Wind in the Willows reference. One that included the member that oftentimes was alluded to in their 1970s material, Syd Barrett, as an actual member. This, along with their second album, which was entitled A Saucerful of Secrets, will both be seen as absolute essential classics of the psychedelic rock movement of the 1960s and early 1970s. However, it's something that took a couple of years for this realization to fully be realized. This is an album that will seem very unlike the classic Pink Floyd albums that many people own, many people remember, many people worship, and others treasure. Instead, this is an album purely of the psychedelic rock movement, written primarily for Syd Barrett, by Syd Barrett, in a style that Syd Barrett could only reflect as, well, his life. Barrett, who was an avid drug user and was constantly seen as either tripped out or wasted on numerous psychedelic drugs, wrote songs that reflected the image that he saw in his head. And it was typically one that was very disjointed, very cloudy, very insane. However, this fit perfectly into the psychedelic rock movement that was currently going on, not only in America, not only in areas such as San Francisco with the San Francisco acid movement, often chronicled in Hunter S. Thompson's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, but also in other corners of the globe, including England. You could see this present in tracks such as Astronomie Domine, the track that really kicks off the album and shows you exactly what Pink Floyd has to offer. Showing you that not only were you going to be treated to a psychedelic thrill ride, but there was also going to be harkened moments of atmosphere. Atmosphere that was going to be a primitive showing of what Pink Floyd was going to be able to offer spaced out users and abusers of their music in the future. But it was the lavish Interstellar Overdrive, the centerpiece of the album, which kicked off side 2 in the old vinyl format, a near 10-minute long jam that really showed this in full gear. It displayed the band's ability to really just take one concept and loosely attach it through a series of random noises and random atmosphere, collectively create arguably one of the strangest but also one of the best tracks that the album has to offer. Those with lyrics will often be seen as extremely cryptically written, both by a mixture of Roger Waters, but mainly by Syd Barrett. Syd Barrett, as a wordsmith, was one that was extremely poetic, extremely influenced by classic works of literature, and also just plainly the surreal. And the surreal oftentimes was the side of him that really won out in the end. His lyrics talk about everything from bicycle rides to seeing someone play. In fact, one song that has classically been omitted from this album, one of the band's very first singles, See Emily Play, is often considered to be a sought-out treasure by collectors of Pink Floyd merchandise and apparel. This is a song that has been available only on choice albums that are of the tributary variety, either that or those that are seen as best-ofs. This is still a song that, to this day, even in the 2011 remaster series, has not been included in either the Piper The Gates of Dawn or in the second album, Saucerful of Secrets, which is an interesting fact, considering this song, along with a song that was featured on Saucerful of Secrets, Set Your Controls for the Heart of the Sun, were considered audience favorites, mainstays in their live format, and songs that Roger Waters would oftentimes rehash, even on his solo tours long after Pink Floyd had disbanded. At least, parted ways with him. This album's disjointed characteristics are a premier showing of what the psychedelic movement was able to do as far as construction was concerned. The fact that the label that signed them, EMI, did not even really know what kind of band they were and gave them free-form artistry, gave them the open environment to create whatever music that they wanted to create, showed a real bold leap of faith with a band that was destined to become something great. However, at this moment, were nothing at all. Nothing but a band that just had a very slim budget to work with and a couple of ideas that they wanted to kick around. The result? This is a premier album in psychedelic rock history. One of the keynotes of this movement. A time capsule to what these years in the world's lifestyle really had to offer. To those of us today, this might seem a little bit insane, surreal, crazy. Painted with hues that perhaps would only exist under the influence of acid, LSD, mushrooms, or any other crazy drug that we may be able to score and grab it with our hands. So it almost seemed like music that would be best to see instead of hear, but not in a live environment, but while in this state of hallucination, to actually see the music in front of you, as opposed to only hearing it with your ears. However, Syd Barrett himself would become the victim of his own surreal lifestyle as early as album number 2. And soon a change would have to be made to the core lineup of Pink Floyd, a change that would shape their destiny forever.